the moment that I was out on Joe Espada as the manager of the Astros, and let me preface this, Seth, by saying that I think Joe Espada seems like a great dude. I think he seems like a nice man. I bet he is what they would call a good baseball guy. You know how they say that when you're maybe you're a manager, but you're not cut out to be necessarily the leader of a 26-man roster and a coaching staff, but you're a good baseball guy, right?
Keeping an even keel is a very good attribute amongst baseball players and managers, except sometimes it's almost like sometimes it feels like some people would prefer the even, smooth, steady sailing over like a more aggressive tack.
Yeah.
And that's what Espada feels like. Nice leisurely Sunday afternoon sail on your little sailfish or what have you.
Right. Let me be clear, too, that what I'm about to tell you, and the reason I'm out on Joe Espada is not because he hasn't ripped a phone out of the wall and tossed it across the room with a room full of reporters.
Right.
It's not because he hasn't gone out and kicked dirt on an umpire over something, although I was disappointed the other day when the umps, who clearly blew a call in the game with the Astros, that ball that was called fair, that should have been called foul, and the home plate umpire overruled Vanover, that ancient shriveled up third base umpire, which they got the call right, but the methodology says that's not supposed to happen. You can't overthink. The call has been made, you know?
Yeah.
So I was a little angry with Espada that he didn't get tossed, over taking up for his team in that instance. And it's been that way. The one ejection that I can remember with Espada, he politely asked for it this year with the umpire, like, hey, toss me.
We think that's the conspiracy theory.
What it looked like, yeah. It certainly wasn't your garden variety ejection, which is what I'm looking for. So it has nothing to do with, I need this guy to be angrier than I am after a loss. I know you hate when I bring up stuff like that, like about like how I need this guy to get angry.
Yeah, sometimes like the temper tantrum isn't always the best sign of it. Yeah,
and I understand.
The temper tantrum is often best done quietly.
Yeah,
I mean away from prying eyes.
Right. So this has nothing to do with that. This is an accumulation of being way too much Mr. Nice Guy the first couple months of the season on a team that is not just not very good, but way underachieving what the talent level is on this roster. And we're past the injury thing now. I know there's been injuries on the starting staff and whatnot. I mean, you're 24 and 32. You've got a relatively healthy start. I know Javier's not there. You haven't had Urquidy all year. I can't count Urquidy in all this. You haven't had him. The starting pitching's been good is the bottom line of late. Like starting pitching's not been the issue over the last several weeks. It's been the lineup, and in some ways, like who's in the lineup. This was where I was out on Joe Espada. This quote from Chandler Rome's game summary of the 4-2 loss a couple of nights ago, the night where we had the 3-run implosion in the 8th inning, which included a Rojas double that bounced off of the glove of Jose Abreu. And Chandler Rome says this: the ball exited Rojas' bat at 95.7 miles per hour and carried a 220 expected batting average. It went off Jose Abreu's glove and into right field. In no reality is this a routine play, but it's one elite teams find a way to make. Abreu could not. Asked if it is one he expects Abreu to make, that play, Espada replied, quote, "No, that's a really tough play. That's a ball hit hard down the line," end quote. You can at least say it would have been nice if he knocked it down. It would have been nice if he kept it in the infield. That's a really tough play. We're asking the overpaid first baseman who can't hit to do something tough on D. Can you acknowledge that at least that, especially in light of the fact that there have been 2 other plays like that in the previous game that bounced off of Jose Abreu, that caromed off of him, that's happened now 3 times in 2 days, that it would be nice if he could have knocked it down. No, that's a really tough play.
The expected batting average on that was 220.
Right.
It wasn't a gimme.
Yeah.
And he wasn't chalked up for an error, but it's 100% makeable.
Yeah.
It hit his glove.
Yeah.
And it's not the kind of thing that requires. I'll excuse first basemen when they're not all that mobile, especially Singleton in Abreu at his age. Like, okay, if they don't make a diving lunge to make a stop, okay, I get it. But over and over and over again, when the point-blank range stuff you're missing out on, where you got to get a glove on the ball, that's the frustrating thing.
Yeah, and this is it's one of 2 things or both. And I know I'm taking one quote, and you're going to listen, and you're going to go, that's why you're out on him? No, this is the straw that broke the camel's back. That's what this is. We all have relationships where it's going a certain kind of way for a while, and you can tell it's going in a certain direction, and then you arrive at that point, you have that epiphany where you go, I got to get out of this relationship. I got to get out of it. This just isn't going anywhere. I don't see this thing ending well. Joe Espada is never going to hold a trophy over his head, ever, 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 as a Major League Baseball manager. He will not. And he just doesn't have the demeanor for it. And this quote about the AU play in the 8th inning 2 nights ago, no, that's a really tough play. That's a ball hit hard down the line, end quote. It's either Joe Espada is just way too soft to be a Major League Baseball manager. And again, I'm not asking him to throw fits, hissy fits, tantrums, get kicked out of every third game. I'm not. I'm just telling him, stop being so positive. Stop sounding like the manager of a team that is 40-15, not 24-32. If you listen to a Joe Espada press conference and just took the questions about the results of the game out, you would think he is managing an elite Major League Baseball team right now. That's my issue with it. So it's either one or both of Joe Espada is just way too soft, or this particular quote is them coddling to try to keep Jose Abreu's confidence up in some way, which is obviously symptomatic of a bigger problem with this team, which is they are lost right now when it comes to what's important.
There's a feeling about this team, like with the way Espada manages it, or perhaps with a lack of urgency with the situation they're in the sum total of everything. It just feels like there's almost like some underlying confidence that, like, well, we'll kill this with our Astros-ness.
Yeah.
You know, like, well, we're the big bad Astros. These things always work out for us. It was Sean, honestly, this is like the British Army during the Revolutionary War and leading up to it. The British Army, you can find out, like in almost any historical movie, there's like some cocky, drunk British general who's like, well, these savages surely couldn't take on the mighty British Army. George Washington's first battle ever, it was when he went in to fight. He was a colonial officer in the British forces, where this General Braddock decided, like, well, like all the colonial officers were telling Braddock, like, listen, you don't sleep on the Native Americans. They will bleep you up. Mm-hmm. And Braddock's like, no. And he sent off this like long, like lightly guarded march through the wilderness, where like the Native Americans just were picking them off left and right from the side, covered them out. And you know, meanwhile the British general is, well, this is not fighting like a gentleman. Like, you idiot.
Yeah.
Like, the Astros are out there fighting like gentlemen. Yeah. When like, no, you can't. No. You're not that. You're not. Whatever made you great, you are not right now.
Yeah. I like Astros-ness as a word.
That's when Washington first realized that he was like, I can take these chumps.
Yeah, exactly. I'm just going to take this whole country from these guys.
This is who that we're afraid to rebel against? Yeah. My God.
Mm-hmm. They may underestimate me. I'm just that was the moment. That was the relationship moment for me, Seth, reading that quote where Espada's going, no, that's a really tough play. That's a ball hit hard down the line. Oh, I'm sorry. We're asking a $19 million a year player to make a tough play? Sorry about one who's not doing anything to affect, not even not doing anything to affect winning, one who is affecting losing every time he steps on the field. And this is, and you know what? And you said this earlier, I don't even know who I'm mad at right now about this. I look at Jose Abreu, and I'm not mad at the man. I'm mad at the thought of the baseball player, Jose Abreu. I feel sorry for Jose Abreu to some degree.
Yeah.